Hello, everybody. Let's exit to port. It is, at the time of this recording, 11:55 on the 18th of November, 2025. For the more astute of our listeners, you might notice that something is weird with my audio, and that is because I'm currently in Germany, visiting my girlfriend. And I will say before we start and introduce our colorful guest that life is too short to not have colorful socks. That's all I'm going to say about that. What do you think about that, Grumbles?
Sure. I don't have a lot to say about that as a man who always wears black socks.
You know, I was originally thinking about this because I like being in Germany now. I'm kind of figuring out my stuff, like what I have here, what I have at home, what do I need. And then I was sitting there and said, "Oh, I need to buy socks." And then I was just kind of thinking, it hit me, why do I always buy just black socks? like why? There's no reason for me to just have black socks. It doesn't save me anything. It doesn't make it easier to pair them. In fact, it makes it harder. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for some really colorful socks. I'm currently wearing some really colorful stripy socks. And they're fabulous. So there's that. So yeah, life is too short to wear boring socks. It's my new motto. It really isn't, but it's something to think about at least. For those of you watching on YouTube, you will see that there is a slight difference to how the how the layout is, and hopefully it will make sense for those of you watching. We are thinking about moving all of our podcasty stuff to just one platform, potentially only Patreon. We're not sure yet, but we will let you know in advance. And but nothing will change price-wise as such. We'll still have the $2 a month and everything there, and like we may make the video, post that there too. We don't know. We're shopping around for options because after last meeting, we figured out that the price over on Buzzsprout is like, it's been good, but they are discontinuing the current plan we're on. And I'm not sure what to think about that. But yeah, sincerely, thank you to our patrons for helping us pay for that by pledging $2 or equal per month over on patreon.com/exit2port. That's patreon.com/exit2port. And what do you get for $2 a month? Well, I'll tell you. You get the option of making us happy. No. You will have the guarantee, like as long as we are able to do it, you will have the guarantee that your question and comment will be read and answered as much as we can. And you will have the episodes uploaded to Patreon as quickly as it's done editing, like as quickly as possible. And yeah, in the future there may be some Patreon exclusives. And I've kind of been thinking about it because I've been listening to a few roleplay podcasts lately, and they always do like an after show talk about, like, where they talk about the episode or such. And then I was thinking we could do something where it's more just, you know, the episodes where we just riff it, where we just completely, like, there's no script, there's no thought, there's no, like, we could have like a fireside chat thing going. And that could be a Patreon exclusive. I think that could be cool.
Mm. I think what they call it, recovery room. That's what they call it on Table Story. I think
Yeah,
that could work quite well out.
I've been listening to Gumshoes and Dragons, where Anthony, who is the DM for the first 2 seasons of Dungeons and Daddies, he has a new one where he essentially has like an almost Columbo style crime podcast, which is set in Faerun, and and they do the coroner's report where they talk about the episodes, and I really like that. Really like that because it gives some insight into what goes on and the thought process behind things. And I think we could do something like that. The dockside chat or something. I don't know. We're gonna move swiftly along. We're gonna start with, as per usual, our recently played games. And we're starting with a game I've played once now, but I've watched Stats play a lot. But I really want to play more. Waterpark Simulator. And the reason why is, like, one, it has maybe the easiest Twitch integration you'll ever see. You simply go to settings and you type the name of the channel and click OK. You have to redo that every single time, but that's it. And then it reacts to chat that when you type join, is it join? I can't remember. Where you will guess the park as a random, but you can also specify if you want to present male or female. And then at some point, when you get to the point of hiring someone, you can do !hire me, and then M or F to present however you feel most comfortable. But it's so simple, it's so straightforward, and it adds so much chaos because the park that you're kind of setting up, it has a limit to the amount of visitors, but I don't think that limit is affected by the people visiting or choosing to visit through Twitch chat. And
so you mean like concurrent number of concurrents as opposed to the overall max? Okay, yeah.
So let's say you have a max of 10 people in your park. I think, as far as I've seen so far, at least, there will be more people in your park if you have Twitch visitors. So it's very clearly kind of, I wouldn't say that people that aren't on Twitch can't play it, because they definitely can, but it's definitely very streamer friendly.
Okay.
And there's so much to do. Like, it's been so much fun to play. So many clippable moments. So yeah, no, that it's fabulous, and I can fully recommend it to any and all streamers out there. To give it a go, to have a little gander, if you will.
Cool.
And there will be multiplayer in it at some point. So Stats, get ready. Maybe we can get you in on that too, because I think you'll like your chaotic nature is going to be fabulous to this.
Me? Chaotic?
Yes, you chaotic. And then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
X2. Wait, what's that over there?
Because the thing is, you've also recently played a couple of games that have been water themed, and the one I'm talking about here is Farm Sim 25 has recently come out with a Highland update.
Yeah.
what's the big thing in the Highland update? Go Rumbles.
Fishing.
Fishing.
So you can fish, and it's a pretty straightforward mini game, and it's kind of fun because you can go out on the lochs or you can fish in a pond of your own making, or anywhere there's a body of water, really. But also they've added in, firstly, a really wonderfully put together mock-up, if you will, of a Highland, Scottish Highland kind of village and small port town. Looks really cool and feels really good, really immersive when you're there. And then they've added in fishing, so trout and salmon farming, where you have
Nice.
the little pools, in a covered area and everything, and then you can also have an outdoor pond for maturing the trout, and then you can sell them at different rates to different areas, different businesses on the map, or you can even go into buying those businesses and doing the whole processing chain, if you will.
Right,
And then
which is part of
yeah,
the whole Farm Sim 25 thing. Yeah, cool.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and then the salmon. I haven't got into this bit yet, but hopefully soon, TM, I'll have time for that. You can to mature the salmon, you need to have offshore spots where you go and put them into like some netted in area or however that works exactly. And I haven't got to that part yet because we need to make a lot more money first. We started with a pretty measly budget and bought a speedboat and went tearing around the loch. So kind of wasted a lot of the money that I would have need to set that business up. Anyway, you can also do the maturing of the salmon as well. And the good news is it works fairly quickly, although I had it on like default settings like ×5 and stuff like that. But you can start making some decent money, and I find that it's not like it's dominating everything. You're still doing all the other farming sim things if you want to, and or you can just focus on the fishing stuff and still make a sort of a living there if that's your intention or if that's your desire as part of your playthrough. So I feel like it's a nice complement to what's there already, and yeah, just really enjoyed the first impression of it so far. Did accidentally end up using that lumberjack mod, and there was some of that aforementioned chaos going on.
So how
Yeah,
about that tuk-tuk going 100 and something kilometers with
yeah.
slight overload on the back? Like what? What
I mean,
about
you say
that?
overload, I say well balanced, fine tune the balancing. Yeah, I mean, there's a clip of me having got two bales attached to it that kind of look like little microlight wings,
Uh-huh.
and going up to 100 plus to try and pick up speed and in air quotes take off. Funnily enough, there's no flying physics, no aerodynamics in Farming Sim 25 yet. But perhaps when Giant Software see my YouTube short, that could change in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, could be.
I'm giving them ideas. That's all. Yeah, no, but the fishing things it's a good addition in my opinion. Obviously, I benefited from having a little sponsored thing and getting the DLC for free, so I can't really comment too much on the value, but I can say that it's fun to play, and the map that they've produced for it is quite beautiful. I think it's my favorite map already.
So if someone else were to be lucky enough to pick up this this DLC and they just
Mm.
wanted to sit there and fish to create money
hmm
for said company, how would that like would that be?
So you could do it, but you'd spend a long time. So far, you catch fish, and I haven't seen any sort of variety in it. I've pretty much just I'm not sure actually. It might depend where you're fishing exactly. But so far, all the fish I've caught are worth €100. So good money. But if you think about how much you're going to need to buy, like bailing equipment for 300,000 or whatever,
Yeah.
it's going to take you a wee while. But if you're really enjoying it, sure, go right ahead. I would say have that as a little supplemental bit of income on the side just for fun and to break up, some of the traditional farming play if you want to just do something different, or just go and like enjoy the scenery and the beautiful map and everything.
The reason why I ask is, um, I saw someone say on a stream that
Mm-hmm.
they have been making plenty of money with the fishing itself, and not necessarily um the uh the fish farm
Fish
part to
farming,
it.
yeah.
So I was just wondering if that could be a thing. Like I would have to check it out, but I think maybe I should reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm one of them. They're streamer types.
Mm-hmm.
Could we talk?
Yeah, definitely worth looking into. I mean, as I said, I think they've done it very well. Yeah, I would be surprised if someone was making like a lot of money, but if you had 2 or 3 people doing it together in a co-op playthrough or whatever. But like, again, all I know so far is €100 per fish. Are
No.
there bigger fish? Are there different fish? Is it you can also farm up like other non-fish items? So maybe maybe there's a collectible you can dredge up, or something peculiar out of the water that's worth a load of money. But just off the fishing itself at €100 a pop, it only takes like a couple of minutes to catch a fish. So, if you want to sit there for 8 hours doing that, I'm sure you could. But I don't think you'll have made enough money to buy like a tractor or something. I'd be surprised. I'm not saying someone hasn't done it, but I would probably want to watch some of that video and see the evidence.
I guess we'll just have to keep our eyes open to what goes on and who ends up doing all the fishing. We'll, I have a feeling it might be one of those patience games where if you are patient enough, then yeah, it can definitely work out for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of being patient, we have patiently been waiting for the Enshrouded water update.
Yes.
It has finally arrived. Of course, it arrived just as I was flying to Germany, so I have not been able to partake properly. But I've been watching people play around with it, and it does seem like a lot of fun. But it does require a bit of patience to work with, as far as I've seen.
Yeah.
How would you rate yours and Lima's experience now this last Sunday, and your own experience playing on your own a few days prior?
Yeah, I would say that as with the experience together with Lima, obviously when you're doing the stuff in co-op in this game, things can go a little bit quicker. We didn't have to do much exploring around because we already had level 25 or so characters. So we had access and a lot of the NPCs and their equipment and stuff. So we already had access in that save to things like the water dispenser, which is basically just a tap or whatever that you put on the wall that just spits out the water. And what we then continued to do was find different ways of flooding and or trying not to flood our homestead. And I think overall it was easy to create like a water catchment and dispense water into it, and then you can actually fish from it if it's a big enough and deep enough spot of water, which is pretty cool. Like, you just have to suspend disbelief or whatever. But that's neat, so that you can create your own like lakes and fishing ponds and whatever if you want. There's also quite beautifully rendered in like lakes and bodies of water around the map. I haven't gone to the new biome yet, so we won't talk any of that kind of spoiler stuff beyond the water and a few lakes being there as they are. And yeah, I found that, you can channel the water a little bit. I think that if you're working with like building blocks and things, like creating an actual aqueduct style thing or a water channel, it's a little bit more efficient and easy to work with. But we did work in a very muddy. So Lima basically had the idea, which I thought was a good idea, to get rid of all the mud in the sort of stream where we were, And
Mm.
unfortunately, the mod is one of the materials in the game that you can dig it away, but you can't manipulate it otherwise. You can't build with it or anything like that. So, and the mod, when it interacts with the water, it turns out we learned basically acts like a drain. So stops the water from like being very effective or going anywhere else. Either that or it makes it spill out into like level out into the air or something.
Mm.
And the long and the short of that is you can't really make the water flow down the stream or channel that you've built that easily. So we found ourselves having to dig all the mud out and then fill it in again with like stone or dirt.
Yeah.
So my experience with it in the co-op was that it's fun, and I think it maybe needs to go through one more like iteration once they get player feedback and they see what works and what they're getting positive responses to, and that, and where there's some frustrations. In terms of like how it's designed and rendered and everything, it's absolutely beautiful to look at and to swim through and everything. The swimming animations are fantastic. We've put a simple oxygen system in place for holding your breath underwater. You can't use all your tools and weapons, so that makes sense. Yeah, and just the way the surface of the water is done, and then looking up from swimming under the water and bubbles and fish, and looking up to the sky through the surface and everything, just looks stunning. They've done like one of the best initial implementations of water that I think I've ever seen in a game. Like I've seen other games kind of eventually get there, but for this being like the first public iteration of it, it's amazing. And the
It,
fact
it,
that you have voxels across all the map that you can dig with your pickaxe and all that kind of stuff, and yet they still have this water kind of behaving itself, and very impressed.
yeah. No. Like I said, I was able to pop in for a tiny bit on Sunday and watch, and
Mm-hmm.
it's super impressive. It looks good.
Yep.
It it didn't seem to impact um the performance of the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And water is one of those things that can
Yeah.
heavily impact performance on games. So I'm kind of impressed there. But then again, Enshrouded's always been it's already full of a lot of volumetric stuff.
Yep.
Be that fog and the shroud and whatnot. But yeah, no, I'm seriously impressed with how it looks and behaves. The only thing that I wish we could do, and I
Mm-hmm.
know I said this while you guys were live, was the ability to build outside your own base confines, but like in super simple terms. Like, let's say you build a channel for water without necessarily digging, but like use aqueduct pieces or
Mm-hmm.
funnel pieces or whatnot to get water to go from one place to another where you need it. I think that could work, because that way
Mm-hmm.
you're not like these water spouts or sources that you guys were playing around with. They feel
Mm-hmm.
like they should be for like if you build a basin, like and not necessarily for a natural source look kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it would be cool to have that, but yeah, I guess we'll just see where they go, because I think a lot of people will probably mirror your sentiment there about it needing a tiny bit more work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be very very interesting to start playing around with it and testing it out. So
Yep.
yeah,
For sure. Yeah.
I've also looked into the fishing system a tiny bit,
Mm-hmm.
um, and there doesn't seem to be like a location based thing for fishing, but rather with how good your fishing rod is and what bait you use.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. So I think that's actually is both good and bad at the same time, because if you have it so that you need to go to different biomes, then it's like, oh, okay, we're getting out into the world,
Yeah.
and there's a different chance to fish at night or whatnot. World of Warcraft had this. There's a lot of games that do this, where like Enshrouded does this with other ingredients. So, maybe we'll see that in a future update. But at the same time, I really like the idea that they haven't really gone, oh, you need to be level 75 and have the best fishing equipment to fish up this thing from there at 12 p.m. on a third Tuesday after,
Yeah.
because sometimes it can be a bit too granular. But yeah, it would be nice to be able to have a fishing quest of going to a certain lake and fishing up something a bit special. I don't know. Could be fun. Could be fun. What did they bring anything else other than a new biome and water? Like what else did they do?
I think those are the key things. Maybe someone in the comments going to kick me if I can't remember, but I haven't looked into too much of the stuff because I try not to spoil the game for myself or for anyone else. So I haven't really gone beyond what we've seen so far. But I think those are the major changes. Let me think. Yeah, no, I can't. Nothing else springs to mind immediately. I'm sure after the podcast, I'll be like, oh yeah, apart from this other thing that. Oh, they did bring in a brand new weapon line and adjust some of the skill tree. So they brought in great swords as a new weapon, and they've already made a couple of patches, I think, to some of the animations. But they seem quite effective, especially early game. I did a fresh start. And yeah, they've changed some of the like the barbarian and the tanking and all that kind of stuff in the tech tree now, or the skill tree rather.
Yeah, next up, Enshrouded devs, can I please have an actual stealth mechanic so that my ambush/backstab isn't completely useless? Because that's the thing that everybody agrees with, as far as I've seen. I see so many people saying, "Oh, yeah, normally in games like these, I go stealth/dagger and roguish, but it's useless." So, and that is what I found. Yep, pretty much. So there's an entire skill in the skill tree, which cost me a few points, which is just almost completely useless. So, anyway, here's to hoping. Like, it is clear that they're working on things and they're doing good things too. So, yeah. Let's do that. Do you know if you can use the water to clean things?
Haven't seen that yet, but there is, like, it certainly didn't work on the mud. But there is in the irrigation that you can do. Like, I haven't looked into the details of it yet to try not to spoil it, but apparently there are some crops that will benefit from having good irrigation, whether that means water poured out onto the field, like rice field type style, or whether that means just having channels of water running by, or it could be both of them are applicable to different crops. I haven't seen that detail yet, but that's the thing. And then there are some new, like, the kind of things you'd expect from a fantasy magical game with the fishing and that. There's going to be other things. Sure, there's going to be like clams and magical items and whatever.
Any goblins?
I haven't seen anything about cleaning yet, though.
And any goblins?
Haven't seen any goblins.
Huh, okay. Because Goblin Cleanup also features water, magical water even. And that's something that I've played together with Peace and Quiet, the stats, and my good friend Mr. Skype Cthulhu. Another game of pure chaos. Are you familiar with Viscera Cleanup Detail?
Only vaguely. I get the premise of it, but I think someone gifted it me, but it's not my kind of.
So
I looked at that and I was like, no, I'm not playing that.
Yeah, no, it's kind of gory. Hence the name Viscera Cleanup Detail.
Yeah.
If people are familiar with the games such as Shadow Warrior or like Duke Nukem and such, Viscera Cleanup Detail is simply the cleanup crew that goes in after something like that has been happening. After Shadow Warrior has gone through. I think there's an actual Shadow Warrior DLC for Viscera Cleanup Detail too. but the idea is simple. You go in after something catastrophic has happened, and you clean up all the gore and everything. Goblin Cleanup is a bit nicer. You are the goblin living in a tower, and your task is to clean up and reset the dungeon before the next set of heroes come in. And it's fabulous. Like there are places where you'll hear fighting and such going on in a room next door. Like there's no time constraint other than for challenges that the game puts on you, but like there's not like, oh, you need to finish this within 30 minutes or you'll be done. No. Like that's only if you want to try to beat certain time records. But it's it's just wonderful because you'll find pieces of chewed up adventurers, and the way you get rid of them is you feed them to the mimic. But be careful, don't get too close to the mimic, or else you'll be food for the mimic. The entire theme song of this game is simply the tutorial. Because it mentions, it says Goblin Cleanup, and Stats is gonna hate me if you listen to this because it's an earworm of his. And then don't fall in a trap, or else I'll have to clean up your blood. I think those are the lyrics to it, but it's wonderful, and the water. The water are like it's magical dew droplets of some sort of water elemental thing that you put on a pitchfork and then you scrub things. And after some time, that globlet will be saturated, and you can feed it to the mimic. So anything you want to get rid of, you feed to the mimic. Be that the water globlets or yeah.
That's a neat way of doing that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And then there's everything from you need to reset the traps, like the crossbow traps or whatever. There's all these things you need to do, and it's really cool. I've had so much fun with it. It will likely return at some point in multiplayer chaos, and it definitely suits being a multiplayer game. I will say though, it might be smart to be on comms, because the ability to talk to people and let them know that this trap has been reset, and so that they don't walk into it. Yeah, very, very important. But it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of shenanigans from a little bit that I watched you playing. Pretty sure that Peace and Quiet was totally innocent, and you guys were just stumbling into traps. That's from what I roughly took away from it.
Yeah. No. Peace and Quiet is never innocent. I'll tell you that much. That's how simple that is. Goblin Cleanup, well worth the few dollars it costs. So pick that up. Another game that is fabulous and well worth the few dollars it costs is something called Super Fantasy Kingdom. This is where I need to state that I was given the key by a Hooded Horse, but I can say, even without being given this key, I would pay the price that's on Steam for this.
Cool.
Super Fantasy Kingdom is a pixelated rogue-like game, but it's kind of strange because you go out and explore the map in a way. The way you explore the map is you build roads, the way you build roads is you fight battles.
Right.
But it's I wish I could show this because it's just so much easier. You get plunked into the game. You have one starting hero, Rickard. He's a man on a horse. He has a sword and a shield.
Mm-hmm.
And the more enemies he defeats, the more glory you get.
Okay.
And glory is what is used to unlock the roads. Glory doesn't get spent. Let's say you need 5 glory to build the first road within your city, which leads to a plot where you can build a house. That house will give you more workers. But to build that house, you need a lumberyard. So you build a lumberyard first, and so there's all these connected threads, and you will find units to upgrade, be that archers, marksmen with crossbows, all of these kind of fantastical creatures, werewolves. You can have werewolves on your team, and eventually, like, the enemies will be too strong and overpower you.
Right.
That's when you get sent back, and you have your first reset.
Okay.
But since you've then had that reset, and you have this glory and these other things that you've saved up,
Yeah.
this ups the power of your kingdom for the next restart.
Oh, okay.
But the map is still explored. So
Okay.
no matter how far you've built the road, it stays that same. Meaning, let's say you've built a road out to a place where you have access to monks. That means you instantly have access to recruiting those monks to fight next to Rickard on the next go.
Okay. Right.
So it's not everything that resets. But
That's quite good. So you don't lose all your progress.
No.
But it is a real setback.
Yeah. So, but like with any roguelike, you're kind of meant to do the reset. You're not meant to keep on going forever on your first or second or third try. And you get further and further progress. You get more and more different heroes. You get more and more different items that can help you progress. You get more and more permanent upgrades, starting with more gold in the start, starting with more lumber. So you can build more buildings instantly instead of, that kind of, okay, now I have one worker, he can go there to pick up these bushes. So you won't have the same start every time. And in fact, you probably won't aim to do the same thing every time either. But it's so chill. It has nice little music. It has a bit of story too. And yeah, no, just kind of finding the different things to work your way forward is amazing. So yeah.
Cool.
So Super Fantasy Kingdom. Well worth the look.
I was wondering where I knew the name from, and then you said Hooded Horse, and I was like, okay. Seen the ping for it there, yeah. Cool.
Sorry, I'm just getting messages that I will likely be interrupted in about 45 to 60 minutes. But that's fine. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hooded Horse, they're good. And I think you could you should check it out. There is a little hero there called Bromrill, and he's a dwarf. Which brings me to Dwarf's Descent. Or is it Dwarf's Decent?
Dwarf's Descent. I think. I mean, they are decent, but that goes without saying. I think is the point there.
What is Dwarf's Descent?
Yeah, so it's a charming little dungeon crawler, I guess is what I'd call it. And little indie game as part of a bunch of games that I played during the 12 Days of Indie charity event. And yeah, it's one of those where we had early access to it in sort of a beta form or whatever. And essentially you go through and I don't know, this roguelike type thing. You try to the goal is you go into like you have a mine cart, there's a whole bunch of tracks. There's lots of different directions to go in. You have to reset the signals about where you're going, left, right, and whatever. And then there's a whole bunch of enemies of all different types and some NPCs down there that you can hire to help you. And essentially, just chaos breaks out. You go in, lots and lots of stuff comes to try and attack you. You try to find a whole bunch of gems and loot that you're going to put in the minecart. And then at various points in time, you're going to try and send that minecart back to the top and have that loot kind of start stacking up and give you some spendable coin, that kind of thing. So yeah, but then it's just utter chaos all the time. You're just running into all kinds of trouble. As you said, it's a little bit one of those where you're expecting to kind of get reset. The one thing that I don't want to be too critical of, because again, it was an early access beta as part of the sponsored showcase and everything. But it definitely when you got reset, you had your coins and things, but you didn't necessarily reset on like the level you were on, in terms of like which dungeon, which area. It had a mixture of like you could redo the one you were just on, or you had completely generated, like fresh generated ones. But that was a little bit frustrating because it felt like it kind of took away the feeling of making progress through the game, as it were. Because you're like, oh yeah, I did this one, and this one, and now I'm here. Let's give that another go. I'll try going left instead of right and see if I can beat the enemies or sneak past them and things like that. And instead, the game was like, no, you got to kind of do all of that again now. Although you did have some money, so you could like, get some better equipment and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was just a bit of fun and a bit of total and utter chaos a lot of the time. But I think people, I'm not really like a platformy, shootery type person. So the game wasn't really aimed necessarily at me, the way I play games or what I enjoy the most. But I definitely had fun with it nonetheless.
Right. And and as part of this indie adventure, you played something else?
Yeah. I played
Mutant
played 3
Football
games
League
overall.
2?
Yeah. So Mutant Football League 2 was kind of hilarious. It's a bit like people know, I think it's called Blood Bowl. I think there's a series of those games. So sort of a John Madden American football spin with like monsters and that kind of trouble, and bombs and cheating with the referee and all sorts of like good stuff like that. And again, it was another one of those that I felt like I was having fun with it, but it was a mixture of like some of the stuff in the game was it's deliberately like cheats. Like you're supposed to kind of like playing your cards or something in a card game where it's like, well, if I bribe the ref until they notice, then for each play the ref's going to be like, oh, you thought you scored but you didn't score because there was a foul on the play, and it's like there was no foul on that play. It's just blatant cheating, but like blatant cheating is like the point of it. So it's pretty funny. But that said, they were in another kind of way of looking at it, and not necessarily you'd call it cheating. I think it's just the programming or whatever of the game. There were bits where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this pretty outlandish play here, and the AI was just like, oh, you're doing that. Well, here's the exact counter to it, and it's like, and that just happened a few times where I was like, oh, okay, I think this is more of a programming balance type issue than just me being unlucky with my play or whatever. So like there was a couple that were, I guess the simplest way to put it is a couple of the plays felt a bit overpowered. There were plays you could do like I think it was called Death Ball, but I never had access to that play because your team would have access to certain kinds of play, and you'd earn more on like special cards as you went through and that. And they had this one called Death Ball, and Death Ball basically means if they played that card for their play, the ball would essentially be like a saw blade, not to their player obviously, but for a number of seconds, like long enough for a good play, the ball would effectively act like a saw blade, and anybody that came near the player with the ball and tried to tackle them or whatever would just get cut in half.
Oh God.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, that's kind of funny, but then you see 3, 4, 5 guys trying to come in for the tackle as the guy's running up the field to score, and they're all just getting cut in half, and then you just run out of defenders, and the guy runs in and scores, and you're like, oh, okay, that's how that works. Cool. Can I have some of? Oh, I can't have some of those. Oh, okay. I say, okay, fine, game. I see how it is. Yeah. So there was but there were some other ones that had a lot more like nuance to them. There was one where you could do like force a turnover of the ball that the defenders drop it or whatever, but you triggered it, and it was basically a short countdown before a thunderstorm would like lightning strike the person with the ball, and they would like be killed and immediately drop the ball, and you could recover it perhaps, or so maybe the other team would still get the ball back, and that. So you had a bit more risk to it. So and also they might have already like scored or been tackled before the thunderstorm fully kicked in, and that. So there was a bit of more risk and reward to that one of like, this is powerful play, but it's not a guarantee to work in your favor. Whereas that death ball thing was, every time they played that, I was like, oh, okay, there's no counter to this. You've just scored now. And the game was like, it's this sort of thing where it's like there's 60 seconds left on the clock, and suddenly they play that play and just insta score, and you're like, oh, okay, there's no time left in the game for me to score back. So congratulations, you won by playing an unplayable card. So that kind of thing. But yeah, it was a good laugh. It was. I think if they work that out as they continue developing it, I think they could have a good fun winner on their hands.
Does this mean we'll see Grumbles play Blood Bowl at some point?
Maybe. I mean, I'd be more inclined to go back to my youthful days or younger days and play like Madden or something like that. It's more my style. I haven't really played sports games for so long, like decades, but I did have a lot of fun back in the day with them. So yeah, it's kind of evoked a little bit of that nostalgia and that feeling of like, oh, I wonder if I'd be any good at Madden now. And the answer is probably not, but could be fun trying. Yeah.
How about bears with arms?
So yeah, the third game that I played, the third indie game that I played for the charity event was Rightfully Beary Arms, and I picked it purely based on the name because it had bears in it, and I thought that sounds funny, and that's one of those roguelites or whatever. And it turns out that I did okay at it, and it was loads more fun. Like of the three, it was the most fun that I had, where you're just running around, shooting everything, going through. You're in space, kind of on like space stations or something.
Yep.
And you're trying to make your way. You're trying to make your way through the different levels with a little bit of sort of puzzle element to it. Where do you go left, right, up, down, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was just really, it was absolutely manic, just like way too much stuff going on all the time for what I would normally play. But in such a fun and like in a way that was also balanced, that you could get your head around, okay, this is how this enemy works, and this is kind of the counter. Like, do you have to get in close to them quickly, or do you have to use it? And then you had all these different weapons. Like the pixel gun was a very strong one, but that could only fire at like 90-degree angles.
Yep.
So like north, east, southwest kind of thing. So it was super strong, but wouldn't work against some of the more mobile of the enemies, where you needed to shoot and stuff. So that was nice, like balancing touches. And then they just had a couple of other. I'm trying to think what it was one other that I found later on that was my favorite. They just basically had some
the Meowny gun or whatever it was called.
That was it. Yeah, the Gatling gun that was meowling or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a Gatling gun that just went meow 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 like that. Meow 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 meow. It was just like, what are we even doing here? But like in the just funnest possible way. So thoroughly enjoyed that one. Highly, if you like those kind of games, again, not necessarily my kind of game, but just it's just silly fun, and it was really enjoyable to play, and glad I got a chance to broadcast that one.
I was lucky enough to win a code for that, and I have played it, and I can confirm
Nice.
it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you got that one.
It's because you kind of sit there, watch it, and it's like, what in the world am I watching? What is this? How?
Mm-hmm.
And then you play it, and it's like, oh, it's making sense now. And again, it's like it's that roguelike element of you go in, you get some sort of currency to upgrade yourself so that you get more health, more whatever.
Yep.
And that adds to your ability to kind of get out there and reach further.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, the chaos that it is to go in there and just try to do things is fabulous.
Yep.
Fabulous. That's how simple that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gatling guns or meowlings or whatever they were called. I can't remember what it was called. There's a lot of guns that go pew pew in there.
Yeah.
But so there is in Battlefield 6. I've been playing that a lot as my offline game, and here's 2 observations for anyone who is a Battlefield veteran and probably in their 40s or more. A lot of the maps in Battlefield 6 right now, they are not meant for 64 people. Or rather, they're not meant for 64 people of my reaction time and age because it's just so chaotic. I've been playing a lot on a 48-man server recently, and one game runs so much smoother. It's insane, like just so much smoother. And 2, a lot more space. Like I feel like I'm playing Battlefield 3 and 4 again now, and like just giving me time to move up in different alleyways. And I've learned something about the map designers for some of the earlier maps now in Battlefield 6, which makes it make more sense. But like the old map, like the old school map of Operation Firestorm, which was from, I think that was from Battlefield 3.
Okay.
Which was purposefully designed to fit 64 people. That plays well with 64 people.
Oh.
So yeah. And they're bringing the designer who made that map and a few of the other really popular maps from Battlefield 3 and 4 back.
Yeah.
So hoping to see some good things going forward. But yeah, any Battlefield veterans out there, play on a 48-man server. If you want my recommendation, even play hardcore. There's one out there called Chili HC, and if you search for that in the community, you'll find a really good server. Yeah, chili, as in the fruit, the chili fruit.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just really good, and I can fully recommend it. It's been so good to just play. Nice. So Battlefield is my just play game. It's yeah. It's not for relaxation, but it's for I just want to play. I just want to have fun. I just want some chaos, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm so glad because Battlefield has been one of my favorite franchises out there for a while.
Cool.
And famously, Battlefield made by DICE, a Swedish dev. And another game we played recently that also had certain battle-y elements, for lack of a better segue.
Yeah.
Are we there yet? Also made by Swedish dev. How can we talk about this without spoiling anything?
Yeah, pretty difficult. Almost the first thing I would say would be a spoiler.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've
I
had so much,
mean,
like, it was so much fun.
yeah,
Like, first and
yeah.
foremost, it was a lot of fun. So as a group, going in there, trying to solve things and figure out how we go forward, how we traverse certain places. No, it was beautiful. It
Hmm.
was beautiful. Uh, we had so many moments. We had so many moments in that game.
There were a lot of moments. Yep.
What's
Which I think is a
some of
good
your
sign of
memorable
a
ones?
game well done. Yeah.
What's one of your more memorable ones?
Um, I mean, there are a lot. I think the first time we realized, I know that was in the first session before you joined, but when we first learned that when we first learned that the snake isn't dead when you run it over. Spoiler alert. That was pretty hard to top that one. That was pretty special moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just all the things they were like, it was what I liked was there were like new nuances and new little things that would crop up as you'd go along. So it wasn't like you'd even seen, okay, these are the two things that can happen. Obviously there's going to be repetition and to a degree with like, oh, there's a snake and there's this and there's that, but um they did a good job, I think, of keeping it like reasonably fresh, which, considering what you're working with, there's not
Mm-hmm.
that many things you think that could happen, but they actually kind of went a bit above and beyond what I was necessarily expecting. Like, you know, again, how many spoiler things do we want to say? But like lava wasn't something I was thinking of encountering in
Yeah.
a sort of camper van multiplayer silly romp type game. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole bit at the end
Hmm.
where I think my pulse was never below 100.
Yeah. And I think that was a good thing as well. They had these the mixture between bits where you could kind of relax a little bit and have some
Mm.
silly fun, and it was just a laugh, and the only issues were really if you made your own problems, or you had the puzzle element of like, how do we get this van we're driving from A to B to C, kind of,
Yeah.
like that. And then you had the more frantic kind of like, oh, there's a bear kind of moments. Or hey, we have to, take this really precarious road or whatever. There was just so many different elements like
Yeah.
that. And I think that was for me a really, really positive aspect of the experience, that they just it never got boring.
I
It got
will say,
crazy, but it never
yeah,
got
yeah,
boring.
true, true. I will say, for us in our playthrough, I watching some others play this
Hmm.
that may not have the amount of hours together in games that we did.
Hmm.
We had relative smooth sailing of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
I
should really
agree.
say something compared to like what's going on with some others, because it's, yeah, I've seen some absolute manic moments in others where we were like, oh, well, we just do this and just keep calm and
Hmm.
talk and communicate.
Yeah, I think we did do well. I agree with you on that. I think I haven't seen too many, but I've seen a little bit, and I've seen more. Like, how do I put this? I feel like our playthrough was one of the most successful, whilst also being one of the most fun that you might witness in that game short term, like while it's new and fresh. Not like, I'm not talking about when everyone's done it and everyone knows how to, you always go left here and you always do this and there's a bear there and that kind
Mm,
of thing. But while it's fresh and new and you don't know what's going to happen next, Comparing it to a couple of other things that I saw, without being detrimental to others or whatever, I feel like overall I think we did a pretty stellar job with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, maybe that, obviously there's an element of bias in terms of like, well, I had a lot of fun doing it, but I genuinely think we made a really, really good go of that game together. And
Yeah.
I'm quite chuffed. I don't always end up finishing games. Might surprise people to hear that there's not that many games that I actually get to the end of and finish, and that was one of them. So I was kind of chuffed with that
Yeah,
aspect of it too.
and it felt like a cool and nice ending too, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. It was a journey that, through all of the ups and downs, as I said, I think one of the best things you can say about a game in some ways is I never once had a moment of like, oh, I wish we could move on, or I wish this bit was done, or whatever. I never once had that feeling, not once. And I think that is also quite impressive for games, because even the best games sometimes have bits where it's like, oh, this again, oh no, one of those or whatever. And this game managed to avoid any of that. For me at least, I
creative use of game mechanics and and friends.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's but like you said, it never gave me a moment of, okay, I just need to be done with this part so we can move on. No, there was nothing like that. There were a couple of moments of, okay, we've been sitting here for a bit too long. We need to move because, or else it's not going to be, like, we're not going to have progress. We need to just try something. We might have been a tiny bit too afraid at some certain points where we didn't need to, but yeah. I will say to anyone who wants to go into this game, explore. Walk out of the RV, get a look around, have a look at what's around you, your options, because it's not always the most straightforward thing that is the easiest and best for you. So have a look around. You will be rewarded. Also, don't fall for any of their traps, because there's plenty of traps. Razzle-fazzle handbags. Won't say anything more than that. But yeah, no, that, are we there yet? Well worth it. Go check it out. We have come to the next segment, which is Games on the Horizon, where I've now written kind of. Because we do, but we'll be talking about that in Know Your Role. So, without further ado, we're just going to skip straight forward to content creation. And the first thing we're going to talk a bit about is something that has affected both streamers and viewers alike. It's their infrastructure change. Talk us through it.
So Twitch, for I guess economical reasons, are changing some of their infrastructure, and essentially, whether they're choosing to do it or they're forced to do it one way or the other, they're changing to run a lot of their tech through what's called the Amazon Content Delivery Network, CDN. And as part of that, they have shut down a number of what were their intake or ingest servers. So meaning that people might experience, for example, more latency. Both the streamer having to connect to the Twitch service essentially from further afield is one aspect of it. And then obviously the viewing experience maybe being interrupted as part of that as well. And over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks, or actually a bit longer, I think, I don't know exactly when this started. It's been going on for a while, on and off, as they move parts of their service across. and different regions of the world have been affected, including in the last couple of weeks, situation where I think East Coast US, which you've got to think is one of the biggest parts of their market, whatever their service offering, they were having people who were live streaming, but then the service was saying they were offline at the same time.
Oh, that happened to me too.
Yeah. So some people were, so you're not going to tune in, or you're not going to get live notifications that someone's gone live, or all sorts of things. You're going to think maybe a stream's ended, or especially if you were lurking, you're going to be dumped right out of that stream and not necessarily refresh and reconnect to it. So yeah, all sorts of shenanigans like that, which will have impacted people's ability to live stream and people's ability as viewers to participate actively and be part of the audience. So pretty naff, really. And again, as part of a raft of changes that aren't really being openly and proactively communicated to us. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah. And having been on the end of the streamers that actually got hit by this whole being live but not being live, the way, oh, so annoying. The way you had to combat this was you needed to go to the channel manually. It would then say offline, but if you clicked where it says chat, that then takes you into where the viewer is, like the video viewer, and the chat, of course. And there, you'd show up as live.
Yeah.
And like moderator views were showing up with both offline and online at the same time. So the view window showed you online, but the counter up top showing how long you've been on was offline. Any and all bots connected to the stream would not be on. Like, they would not react to any sort of resub. They would not react to any sort of like ads running or nothing. So imagine being online or going live and assuming that your audience is finding you in the normal ways through the Twitch site. And you're just streaming and you're supposed to have ad revenue, but your Twitch doesn't, your stream doesn't count as being live. Like, how do you screw that up? And it's
pretty impressive.
And this is just on top of so many other things where I've seen Ever 2000 has been coming back a lot. Like this whole ingress server issue. So I'd like to think that this is a change they're making because they now have new technology available, and as soon as everything is over to said new platform or whatever is going on, that it will eventually get better again. The cynical part of me tells me no. This is them being forced to choose a simpler and cheaper option to save more money.
Yeah.
Because Amazon is putting the squeeze on Twitch to make money, and I can kind of understand that because they're a business, and Twitch is a business, and businesses usually need to make money. But removing big parts of the core of what enables you to actually make that money.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. I'm not happy. Not happy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there'll just be an adjustment phase, and we're in that now. Hopefully it'll get better and smooth itself out. But yeah, it does lean into the other topic, which I mentioned.
Their work against viewer bots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think it is. Yeah.
Well, that is how they phrased it. This is how they've spoken about it too. Like, they have actively gone out and said that we are combating view bots and such. And I'm like, okay, that's good. The theory, the thought, the idea, very good. We like that. We'd like to get rid of viewbots. We're not after that. We're not after having someone on the platform that has essentially cheated their way to the top.
Yep.
This could be my inner pride speaking about my own way to becoming partner and working hard to reach that. And then instantly having someone just show up and stream 17 times and they're like, hey, I'm partner, because they view-botted. I don't want that.
Yep.
But the big part of this is, of course, and this is our theory. I support you on this theory. It's the fact that it hurts the bottom line for streamers, where the averages of people are like the ad revenue. It'll hurt ad revenue. And we recently on a Grumbling, we did a bit of an experiment on this, and I've seen this experiment ran on other channels too. And I don't like doing this. I don't like asking lurkers to come out a lurk and type in chat. But the only way you now count as an active viewer and on the numbers is if you are active in chat. And so we asked our chats, lurkers that felt comfortable with it, to type something in chat. Didn't have to be anything special. You could type the number 1. You could type the symbol for boron. Who cares? Like, as long as you typed something, suddenly our view numbers jumped, I think, about 50. I think it was. Like, it was significant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, if you're afraid of viewbots not or not counting, one of the simplest things you can do is write some sort of script for it to interact in chat. Like, they've prevented nothing. They've not done anything. The only thing they've done is screw over their streamers. That, like, lurkers are the bread and butter of Twitch. This is how most of us have an ad revenue that is stable. This is how most of us have hit partner at some point, and a lot of channels are built around the silent lurker that just kind of sits there and enjoys the content. They don't interact, but they're there. They are valued, so valued. And now Twitch are just kind of showing the middle finger to the streamer and to the lurker, because suddenly the lurker's not counting. It's as if they're not there.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying as well that, like, lurker doesn't mean someone who just opens a browser and then leaves, right? Lurker means people who might be working and have you like on their second screen, or just on audio only, listening but still enjoying and getting something from the stream, or people that just like to chill and that aren't really chatty unless something very, very specific to them comes up or whatever. People that, for example, we have a few that put us up like on a smart TV or whatever. So there's no real chatting option, but they're still there actively enjoying the stream and participating. And every once in a while, they'll grab a keyboard or something and type something in, or go to their computer and do it. And, you know, not to mention people who might be on mobile phones, you know, you might be traveling, or, you know, out away from home, all sorts of things. There's going to be so many occasions where you're not actively chatting, but you're looking. Doesn't mean that you're not hearing adverts. You're not, you know, doing all the things that are revenue relevant for, you know, as part of the service. So to see those numbers wobbling up and down, okay, they have to do something about the viewbot thing for sure. We all respect and appreciate that, as we want it to be a healthy service and we want advertisers to have confidence in what they're paying for, so that Twitch can, you know, grow that side of things and make better deals, which impact us positively. But the way they seem to be going about, or maybe it's like inadvertent, accidental knock-on effects or whatever it is, but just what we've seen with this choppiness of like, suddenly, there's 100 people there and now there's 50 people there. And now there's like 90 people there and then there's, 35 and then 3 minutes later. And these are not like it's without a raid being involved at all. This is just not normal activity. And even some of my like pro stream analytics and stuff, you look like you're looking at saw blade teeth where they're going up and down rather than it just being a steady stream where, either upwards or downwards towards the end, that kind of thing. So, and that's very nerve wracking. And the real impact is there because I see the month on month revenue and I see the advertising revenue is just really low, especially like year on year as well, or comparable streaming levels are even prorated for like shorter hours or whatever. And I'm going through a schedule change as well. So I know that that's all relevant impact to it too. But overall, when you balance those things out, the numbers are like, it's like a half or lower in terms of ad revenue. And in recent months in particular, that's really putting the pinch on, and you want, as much as no one wants advertising and we don't want the YouTube adpocalypse or whatever, at the same time, we've done our best to mitigate some of the impact by running ads, for example, on regular schedules. I run mine hourly, for example, and at the start of streams so that I have pre-roll ads turned off. But the way it's getting, the reduction in revenue of recent months means that it's almost getting untenable for me, and I've got to make a hard decision, turn adverts off completely and say, you know what, I'll just have to forego that part of the revenue, which is mad, but it's almost to the point where, is it worth the inconvenience of the ads and having to always like, oh, there's ads coming in and all these kind of interruptions to what I'm trying to present as entertainment? Or, do I turn pre-rolls back on and do I, double down as Twitch would like us to do, which is say, well, actually, I'll just run 5 minutes of ads or 7 minutes of ads or whatever. Or I'll run ads every, 25 minutes and we start turning it into like US television where they have ads every like 10, 15 minutes or whatever. It's the quality of the entertainment experience for the viewers is going to go down, and that's going to drive even then the people that are like loyal and lurking will be like, you know what, I don't want to lurk and listen to these ads every half an hour or whatever. So I'm just not going to lurk. And if the lurking thing isn't always guaranteed to be working anyway, what benefit am I bringing to the streamer? I want to support the streamer, but if it's not bringing any benefit or whatever, then why bother doing it? And I think that it feels like a slippery slope. I don't like to be, I try to be always positive and looking at the opportunities and things, but it's having a real material impact now. And if I'm seeing that and feeling that pinch, then I'm fairly confident in assuming that that's going to be affecting a lot of people. And if most partners, unless you've got external sponsorship deals or whatever, I mean, essentially where it's at now for me is I have to look actively for more active sponsor engagements, and therefore can't entirely have the content just that I would like to do, but I've got to look for sponsorship things that hopefully fit my vibe and my style and everything. And there's not always a lot of those out there. It's
No. And here's another thing that this whole lurker change, call it that, will be impacting. It'll be impacting the numbers that we report, or that potential sponsors are picking up on through these services. So suddenly, like unless they are aware of this and they kind of adjust their expectations to numbers, then that's also going to affect streamers and the fact that they can't necessarily show the same engagement anymore and be as reliable a source for external sponsorships. So
sponsors use those numbers to work out whether they want to bother sponsoring you or not for their content, or maybe to what degree, to what extent. And Yeah, that's another aspect of this that makes me very nervous at the moment. Is that, where if this carries on this trend, where does that
Mm,
put us? Like in 6 months' time, maybe I can't even get. It's not like I get a lot of what I would call like what's the right way of putting it, but like a decent sponsorship offer where there's some revenue on the table that make the investment of my time and redirection of my audience worthwhile.
mm,
And where I think I can have fun, I can present something and play something that I'm going to enjoy, that I know my audience is going to vibe with. And then on top of that, it's going to be sort of mutually beneficial for both parties. It's hard enough to find those anyway without turning into one of those, well, okay, there's just going to be like a 2-hour sponsor bit, randomly insert random product here and deal with it kind of thing, which is the other alternative, which, they might be forced down that route as just a
mm.
way of surviving, because things like the ad revenue and that and the viewership numbers are just not strong enough to survive otherwise. Yeah.
I can kind of understand that Amazon are pushing something and that they want a certain thing out of it, but you'd think that the focus for Twitch and Amazon then would be how do we how do we make the viewing experience better and and make people stay longer? How do we make the ads more enjoyable so that it's not a pain in the butt, but they still bring eyes to the thing? Because you don't really want people to have to go off platform to find
Mm-hmm.
sponsors and such.
Mm-hmm.
So because Twitch they did a thing together with Stream Elements, sorry, where Stream Elements found sponsorships, but I don't know about you,
Mm-hmm.
but because of my region where I stream from, I don't get anything there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get any offers in there at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I'm turning out horrible numbers either. Like with these numbers, I get external offers in my email, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not huge. But still, like I'm not seeing anything in there at all. So
Mm-hmm.
so this tool that they made is not being used. And so I can only hope that agencies that work with finding streamers know that okay, there's something up with the numbers. We need to adjust. We need to
Yeah.
adjust the expectations here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's chaos, and I don't know. I don't want to blame this on anyone, but there's been a certain change ever since Mr. Clancy made his appearance
Mm-hmm.
um, as the head honcho of Twitch. Um, I'm not gonna touch on it, but his statements regarding events and um, and I'm not gonna downplay it and call it an incident because it was an assault that happened at TwitchCon of a female streamer. It's his statements after that absolutely horrible, and yeah, I'm no longer a big fan, or nor ever was I, of Dan Clancy, and I'm very skeptical about his further future on this platform.
Mm-hmm.
I think we would be better off with Mike. I think we would be better off with a few of the others that are sitting further down, that understand that investing in having, for instance, the back end coders, having their knowledge there, because there's a lot of things that go on in the tools and the functions of Twitch where it's clear that they have made huge changes and that is also affecting them. So can
Mm-hmm.
can we please try to be a bit more consistent, Twitch? Pretty please. Because as soon as you are consistent, that means we are consistent. And if we are consistent, that means the viewers are consistent. It's not that hard. But I had an idea the other day that I want to talk a bit about. It is the ability to purchase like a single day of ad-free viewing. So instead of buying a sub for 30 days in one channel, let's say you drop into a channel where there's a special event going on, and you like normally you're not hanging out there, you don't have a sub, and you know that you won't be back unless there's this special event again or such. Then the ability to buy one day or let's say a week of subscriptions or ad-free viewing on a channel or on that platform as a whole, would that be better than, let's say, Turbo? Like, would that be more accessible? I'm not sure how well it would work out or such, but I kind of like the idea of being able to either purchase a sub for like one day on a channel and be like, hey, here's my ad-free viewing. And I know that the channel is being supported, Twitch is being supported. Like I don't know. What do you think of something like that as a way of furthering income?
Yeah, I think something like that could have potential. I think that Twitch would probably be very loath to implement something like that because they would look at things like transaction fees or whatever. Like the volume would have to be so high, or the price would have to work that it would make sense for them financially as well. But it's another potential opportunity for random bits of revenue. I guess I think the hard thing for them might be, we were just talking about the predictability, and that would be unpredictable. But it's similar to people using bits, so it could be a thing of like, well, if you spent without looking at numbers or whatever, but just say randomly like spend 500 bits and you get a sub to this channel for the day or something like that. I get there's going to be lots of reasons and technicalities and accounting shenanigans and tax and whatever why you could do A, B, and C, but not these suggestions or whatever. But I'm sure that there must be some. I like the idea though, in principle, of saying, look, I want to offer some support. I'm really into this particular thing. I really want to be there. This is my all-time favorite game, or I like this music that they're playing today, or whatever it is, and just put that. It's kind of like the equivalent of like buy me a coffee. I guess the thing is, they probably potentially see things like that as being covered by other, either by bits already, like, so, oh, that was a super funny moment, so I'll give you some bits kind of thing. But they may be missing a trick, or resting a little bit too on their laurels on that one, or just people just don't want to have another transaction and buy bits. I can totally see that.
Yeah, no, I've watched some of the things that they've done with for instance, non-affiliated streamers now being able to use their revenue to buy bits or subs with. Like they can't take the money out, but they can use that on the platform. And I was thinking, like, there must be some sort of opening for these things where you essentially buy. Let's use bits as a currency for this. There's a lot of places that they do this where you write or you buy a virtual currency on a platform, and then you use that within the platform, like gold in World of Warships. So it sits on your account, and then you can spend it on whatever you need, like a day of premium. You know what? That's what this is. That's what that idea is. It just dawned on me. It's a day of premium.
Yeah.
It could work. Like we've seen this work in other games. Like, how many times have you seen World of Warship streamers give away like a day of premium or a weekend pass or such,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
people are hopping on it because they know, okay, yeah, I'll use this at some point. But
Yeah.
yeah, I,
You'd
I
also have the potential for things like they do in warships, where it's like, well, you can buy one or you can buy three for the price of two,
yeah,
and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's definitely, there's some potential there.
like there is something there, but it would need to be fleshed out. So I want to turn this over to the comments, the questions and comments. What do you think? Would this be something that would be of interest, that you could be into, instead of being forced to buying a full month of subs or whatever? Like, let me hear your thoughts. Put it down in
Mm-hmm.
the comments, put it in Patreon or whatever you're listening to this, and we will have a look. We're going to move on to the next part of content creation, where there's some interesting news coming out of China. Because there's a new Chinese law regarding the requirement for creators to have what was the wording? For creators to have a professional degree when speaking about, or a formal education is called, when speaking about sensitive topics such as medical, financial, or similar. Like, sensitive topics is kind of the operative thing here. So something where giving uneducated advice could be detrimental to the person following this advice. And right out of the gate, yes, this is a potential for censorship, of course. However, I can see this as being, if we take it into our normal way of doing things here in Europe, for the most part at least, the idea here is that this has to be enforced by the platform, because the platform would be the one facing the consequences. And my thought here is this could lower the amount of misinformation that is out there, and we could have an actual market for professionals doing more and proper podcasts, and there would be an opening for that, where you'd have lawyers give proper law advice. You'd have doctors giving medical advice. It's this sort of thing where you have those that have the degree, have their platform, without the likes of, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there are certain podcasters in the US that are super popular, that bring on guests and they talk about topics in such a way that is like they're actively giving advice about something they don't have a degree in, and that could be medical or such. And I think that this could potentially be a good thing, but the pitfall here is so potentially big, with
Mm-hmm.
it being an overreach, like a governmental overreach. And I will fully acknowledge that governmental overreach is not a good thing, but the idea of the idea and thought of lowering the amount of misinformation, that I like. That I very much like. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I kind of hate it because of the practical reality of how it would be used. So it's hard. The problem is that having, like, as it's worded, formal education, right? So like kind of knowing what you're talking about. There's so much of everyday life and in human history where there's two elements come in. Just having read a book about a thing, but not having any of the life experiences to go with it can be really detrimental in terms of giving advice, or this is what you should do, or this is what the books say, kind of thing. So there's one element, which is just having that knowledge from a book, or or from any source, but without understanding the context necessarily, and not having the experience to know whether that applies in every situation, because it depends. That depends on the field and the topic. Some knowledge, like understanding how gravity works and physics, right? Maybe that's just universal and fine, and there's not really too much you can argue about that. And I'm not inviting physicists to get into big meta arguments about deep physics stuff. I'm just talking about everyday, like, does an apple fall to the ground when it falls from the tree, kind of thing, right? And then there's other topics. Medicine is probably a really good example, where you've got the combination of what we know and what we don't know about how things work, and then the individual versus the generic or the mass cure or recommendations for thing, where one dose of a certain thing might be deadly for one person. Take a peanut allergy as an example, and the next person will be fine. So I think for medicine in particular, it's definitely a thing of, like, you need general consensus and knowledge shared, but you also need individual. I can't remember what the term for it is, but you need to treat everybody, uniquely on their case, and also listen and learn from the patient as well. So I think, and the other part of it is that, and this is the much more difficult part, but education is steered and curated in many cases and many fields, like the more the core fields, if you will, by central government, by manipulative powers in the background. So we've just seen this with the world's biggest I don't know what you'd call it really, but the whole COVID thing as an example, where my view is that science and scientists and things, not all of them, I'm not going to tar everybody with a brush, but a lot of things let us down, and governments and all that, because they simply just either didn't understand, or in the worst case, they deliberately misled and lied to us and everything. So you're talking then about many of the most highly qualified and educated people on the planet, in many cases, that either were hoodwinked or were part of it and just took the gain. So I think that the dangers of it, with the way the world is right now, for me personally, far outweigh the potential. The concept is one I can understand and get behind, but then you'd have to say, well, you have to give everybody fair and equal access to the educational materials, and you have to ensure that the quality of that material is there, and you also have to foster. And I think maybe this is one of the key issues with the concept, is you have to foster critical thinking. You have to encourage people to think critically, not to necessarily to question everything, not from a vindictive kind of, like, I want to prove this wrong kind of thing, although that could be your motivation on an individual level, which can be a powerful motivation, not necessarily a bad thing. But we kind of need to get to the back to the point where you just put all the facts that we know on the table, and you allow everybody to have free and open and earnest discourse around those matters, so that we can refine our understanding, come up with whatever tests and things that we need to do to further that knowledge, and then just share it freely and openly with everybody. I guess it's like many things, medicine, education, similar. There's an overlap where you need to find a way. We need to find a way to take big money out of it, because as long as there's a financial incentive, we're going to have a struggle, because there are people that will literally just game any system and find a way to manipulate things in their favor, and not for altruistic or regardless in many cases of the outcome, simply don't care. So I get the idea, that it's coming from everybody's favorite top-down Uber control Big Brother China. Is interesting. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it, without wanting to go and derail completely into specifics that would be beyond the scope of what we talk about.
So in my mind, what we're talking about here is, for instance, someone sitting on a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever it may be, saying, "Oh, you should take these medications and coupled together with this treatment type for your heart." That's the sort of stuff that I see as sensitive, because it's very, very directly, as you said, individual, and it would need to have someone be a medical professional to be able to understand like the full potential ramification. Because that person sitting there without a degree talking about these things, whereas their experience is valid for them, that's the operative thing here. It's valid for them. And they sitting there giving advice, that's what I want to avoid. I want to get the thought of, okay, if this person, however, said, "This works for me, talk to your doctor about it if it could work for you," that's a different thing. But if you have a doctor sitting there saying, "We have X amount of patients in X amount of studies showing good effect from doing this. This is something I would recommend looking into." And then they're coming from a different place. They're coming from an understanding of these numbers, these datas, and having access to it in a complete different way. Like the data set is so much bigger for them, and they have an understanding of how to read that data set. That's where I see this as sensitive, as opposed to someone having just access to it and not understanding how to read it. Just like with statistics, I'm not gonna jump on statistics and try to make an understanding of it, but I know that some people can take statistical numbers and make them look skewed, even though they're positive, and the other way around. So, yeah, critical thinking, good, but the direct handling and an interpretation of the data out to the public, that's where I think we need the professionals, and that's why we need the professionals to have their gateways. No, well, I mean, kind of. But then again, I'm lucky enough to come from a nation where I have innate trust in my government and all of these institutions. And yeah, I will not take that for granted when talking about these things, because I know that I speak from a very privileged point about this. I have not seen or experienced these things that even people in Britain are experiencing in regards to governmental overreach and such. So yeah, I although I do look at the world and I see places where censorship is being overly used. But I also look at the world and I see where people are giving advice about sensitive topics without having any knowledge or reason to do so. Yeah. And when you have a certain amount of people watching or listening to you, the being held accountable is important, I'd say. But like you said, it's interesting that it's China bringing forth something like this. But I think it's more the censorship part in China rather than anything else. Let's be fair. Let's be
Yeah,
fair.
I mean, it's such a deep and difficult topic. I think that it's if it wasn't if there wasn't enough evidence over time of humanity's capacity to lie and manipulate each other, then I'd be more in favor of something like that. But I
Yeah.
think that that combined with inequality, as I said, I think that it shouldn't. Yeah. So to me, it doesn't matter where I hear a thing or who said it or on what platform. All that matters is what did I hear? What evidence is there to back that up one way or another? Or where? And if I'm curious, can I inquire further? Where? How do I go about that? And just to form my own opinion on something, and hopefully not be too influenced. But that said, there is the danger of, and this is why things like YouTube have their guidelines. Like Grumpy got hit by it. Grumpy was literally talking about his own experiences and what he was doing for his diet and how he was handling things with medicine and that. And his video got struck for like, oh, you can't be giving medical advice. And he's like, we literally said at the start of the video, this isn't medical advice. We're not doing any of that. We're just talking about what's happening to me in my life with cancer. And they struck off one of his videos and massively demotivated him for making more and sharing his story. And so flat out censorship. So what if he went and did like a 2 or 3 year basic medicine degree course or something? Then what? Then is he allowed to go on there and say, well, I'm now Dr. Grumpy, so I'm going to tell you all these things that happened to me? It's so, that's the problem for me, is that the system is so skewed because of the financial and power implications of it, that I have a hard time accepting following that kind of a process. But that's why I think it would be more beneficial for us as a species to understand and offer access to information and educate and guide people into a way of critical thinking and how to understand some of these things. And then we wouldn't have to worry. I don't think censoring it at the other end, where it's being bleated out, is the problem. I think the fact that not enough people think critically and challenge things and look to form their own opinion and marry things up with that they hear and read and see with their own experiences. I think that's more of the fundamental issue that we face as a species than whatever mouthpiece is saying something on any given day on any given platform. But different ways of tackling the same problem, I guess.
I think it's important to note here that the difference with what happened with Grumpy here, him stating it and saying this is not medical advice, and the system not picking up on it, is two very different things. Like because that's the system in the background being automated and horribly, horribly flawed. There's no doubt about that. But the idea is still there that if he were to say, go out and add turmeric to a saline solution and snort that, that would be direct device, and that's what we want to avoid. And
Yeah, I
but
still see
then
that
again,
as I still see that as censorship, and it's so easy to be manipulated and be used as a form of control, and that's we should be able to see, read, hear anything, and then make our choices about what we want to see, read, hear, and then make further choices and investigate further for ourselves what we want to believe and take away from that and form opinions on. And I think that for me is the danger, that we're not, instead of encouraging that, we're going more in a nanny state direction of like No. These are just the 3 things you can know about and talk about. And relying on professionals and higher education, which is evidenced to be corrupt and manipulated in many ways, is a very, very dangerous path to go down, I think. To say that no one else's opinion or understanding of a thing is valid, even if they don't understand it, but they're just questioning it. But again, we're also living in this new social media technological age where, billions of people can bleat out anything they want at any given moment, and 1 million people might believe it. So we're also in a sort of cutting edge kind of situation as well.
Yeah,
how to deal with that.
When you're kind of nailing the point there with saying that someone can bleat out anything and then you have 1 million people believing it. That's the crux of the issue here when it comes to sensitive topics. Like, how do we deal with that? So the only way we've seen that become better previously is by giving everyone access to education, like proper education. That is the only thing that combats that sort of situation. But how do you give people that education? Yeah, that's a worldwide issue with even bigger implications to global economy, even. So it's
sure.
weird just how big of a web and how much things are actually connected when you first start thinking about things. Wild. Think about that, everybody, while you wear your colorful socks. But yeah, censorship bad. Professional thoughts potentially good. Government overreach very bad. I think that's what we're learning from this. Don't take my advice.
For legal reasons, I'll point out that neither Tiger or I have any formal education on that matter.
Hey, you don't know anything about my formal education.
Do you have degrees in what we've just discussed about censorship?
Of course I haven't.
Okay, there we go. So by rights, we've just fallen into exactly the pit trap.
No, exactly that. It is such a huge and big potential thing, and however it is, like, if it is even implemented, we don't know. But it could have global ramifications if it is, because this is the sort of thing that if it is taken into one government, then that gives precedence for another government to pick it up. And I will urge everyone to look at any sort of implication of this. Implementation is the word I'm looking for. In your area with a decent amount of critical thinking to how it will actually impact. Like, look at the wording, but yeah, there are many good people out there that will fully do proper what's it called, law, like reading through the wording of the laws and kind of talking about how it will impact, because there are so many ways of phrasing things. So yeah, keep your eyes open for things that may come on the internet, and we'll see what that does. Maybe it means that we can't have our podcast. Who knows? Are we giving advice? I don't know. All I know is it's time for Know Your Role. I could have left that Bert out. I could have left it out, but I didn't. I like, it's just part of it now.
Yeah, that's Know Your Role, the remix version.
Like, it just has to be part of it. Yeah, coming up Q1 2026 is the Eco DRP RP event. DRP, of course, being Dark Side Roleplay.
Dimworld.
With Dimworld, sorry, not Dark Side, Dimworld. Yeah. With many famous or familiar faces, I should say. Some famous, by all means, that have previously been part of it. What do we know so far, Grumbles?
What we know is Q1 2026. We know that there's going to be some modded content from the team themselves, but we don't know the details of that stuff yet. It's all under wraps, unless you've got an eagle eye on the teaser trailer. We know that there's an awesome teaser trailer, or taser trailer, if you will. Yeah, and we know that both you and I and a number of others are rather excited about the prospect.
Indeed. I've been thinking a bit, like I'm not 100% sure I'll be part of it yet. I probably will, let's be fair. But I've been thinking a bit about the potential character. And I have a feeling it's going to have to be TIGER, but in a bit of a different way than the last few iterations. What do you think about tactile information gathering express relay robot?
So with 2 R's.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I'm still working out the details, but like the idea is that I use my GoXLR and it's a simple, very straightforward RP character. There's not going to be anything profession to sell or such. It's going to be RP. And it's all about being a messaging service. Walking around and talking to people and being like, yeah, I am. Do you need to have a message delivered to someone? I will make that journey for you. And then be like, please state your name for the recording, and then hit record, either very early, so that, and just kind of stand there, and so that they're like, oh, are you recording now? Like, am I supposed to speak now? Oh, Archie, and you have these awkward messages that start the whole thing. And then you wait a bit, and then it's like, please state the message for person. And then you either wait a bit and click record so that they're in the middle of kind of explaining, or you have that another, oh, you're going already? Okay, shoot. Well, no, can we start again? Can we do this? Oh, we can't? Okay. Well, all I wanted to say, and then click. Yeah. And then it's over. And that's the message that gets delivered to this other person. In my head, at least, that leads to a lot of RP, potentially, at least. And I think that could be fun to do. What have you been thinking about?
I think that, my reaction to that is I think it's got a huge amount of potential. Could be a lot of fun for people, especially if you did a couple of things where you either have little snippets of certain characters, like you said, like with their name and that, like please state your name for the record, or like whatever. But also if you did a thing where you like recorded their message genuinely, but then like just distorted middle bits of it. I don't mean like chopping and changing words. I just mean bits where it cuts out. Like, oh, one other thing, I don't forget to, and then end the message or whatever, end of tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think things like that could leave people hanging. So because it does 2 things. One, it gives them a bit of a fun interaction at that point, but also pays forward in terms of the next time they interact with either your character or in particular with the other character, because they'll be like, did you get my message about bringing the tomatoes over for the pizza baking? And like, no, you said you needed something, but it didn't say what. So, that kind of thing. There's that. I would I would introduce it first and see what the reception to it is like before I would do anything where you could do, if you had like trusted parties like myself and Lima and stuff, where you could maybe do things where you splice a couple of conversations together. Not in a rude way, but just in a way that is comical and doesn't help the situation at all, hinders something. that's purely RP based and not someone's progress that they might be working on. Could be quite funny. Like, you know, Ivan says, "Oh, make sure that you bring me 20," and then you like cut in Patrick or Archie saying like Egyptian mummies or something like that, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
What? And then that just triggers, and then you just kind of make your excuses and leave. Like, that's the end of the message. I don't have any more data. And then you're gone. And then the next time Ivan and Archie interact with whoever the third party was, it's going to be a conversation based on just mass confusion. And then maybe at some point the next day or 2 days later, we all come together, and then your robot appears and plays back the message, and we're like, oh, okay. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there. I would go with I like the idea of the messages that are cut off are like, you know, are you recording now? And having that as part of the soundbite
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, there will be a beep like this one when I'm ready to record, and then you beep, and then the other person's like going to react like, oh, okay, so when it beeps, then we're recording. And then you're like,
Exactly.
yes, we are recording kind of thing. And they're like, wait, what? And they know, and you have some sort of lore around it, like there's a limitation. It can only be like a 30-second message or whatever, so that they then begin panicking and like to get their message expressed in as few words as possible. That could be good fun.
I was speaking a bit to Peace and Quiet about it yesterday, and she also wanted to do some sort of mail service, and those two could really work well together in that case. Where you have short messages that are like, yeah, you pay whatever is appropriate to have this be an express message that goes out, right, you know, and send that off because it's important, you know. And then you have the normal mail that could be distributed however, you know. And I think that could really work out well. Like, it could be really fun to do something like that. Have you thought anything about your appearance?
I mean, I'm almost certainly going to play Ivan. We're working on a few ideas in the background as to how what we're going to do in terms of scale and concept for Barovia, because there's always the idea in the background of doing like the Dwarven stronghold type thing, but you've got to have a kind of a tight knit, at least the core of the group have to be in good communication with each other and have a good common understanding of like, well, what's the goal of it? Because you want all the individual characters to be able to express themselves, build what they want to build, and that kind of thing, and have run whatever shops or do whatever RP lines that they want to do. But there has to be the one thing that I want to learn from in previous iterations is I need to have a stronger like central tenet or core element, which is it could be something as simple as like, which probably will end up being like every Saturday we do a thing, whatever that thing may be. It could be, you know, the comedy club routine. It could be if we go fishing on Saturday together or whatever, you know, or we have help a neighbor day. And every Saturday we get our group of Barovians go around and they just help one another with a particular project, whether it's digging a hole, whether it's clearing a forest, whether it's rebuilding a house for somebody or whatever it is. But we have like a, you know, this is Barovia Day is every Saturday or something silly like that. And we do like, you know, help thy neighbor kind of thing. I want something that there's a perfect RP and an out of character reason why everyone would get together and do a thing together, because I think that will make for good bonding between the characters, and it will build up rapport and additional trust for role playing amongst the players as well. And I think it will be good for audiences. So that's kind of my thinking so far.
Yeah, I think that could work. I like that idea. I like that. It could definitely be a good way of doing things. Like, I'll be interested to see more from Dimworld about their ideas of what's going on forward, what's going on in the near future and such. But yeah, keep your eyes open, everyone, for Q1 2026 RP on the Eco servers there, and go check out the teaser trailers on both That's Bloke's YouTube, and I do believe you're hosting it too.
Yep.
Yep. Go check out the teaser trailer. See the wonderful trailer that the Dimworld team, I think mostly Stats, have put together.
Yeah, he produced it and did the voiceover, most of it. And the rest of the team, I think, interacted and obviously created the environment.
Indeed. And like speaking of such things, we're gonna move on to a question from Reckless Rat. He asked on the last episode on YouTube. Since we're in Know Your Role and we're talking about scripts and such, he says, as a GM/DM in D&D, do you have any amusing stories of when the party went completely off script and threw plans into disarray? And like right off the bat, I'm just gonna say that's just D&D. That is pure and simple D&D. But I like. Do you have any good stories? Because I have many.
Yeah, I have one, which I can't remember if I've recounted or at least maybe part of it before, but one of my favorite ones always sticks in my mind because it was just so crazy. It was, we were playing 5e based game but with a lot of my own lore and rules and stuff. On Roll20 with friends from all over the shop, and we had this long running campaign going, and we'd set up like some of the big bads in the background, and then some of the other things going on in the world, and just there was an invasive army and navy circumstance, and they were invading the country and then the capital where the heroes were based and stuff. And they'd largely like not interacted too much with what was going on other than by coincidence, like incidental moments here and there. And I'd set up this whole scenario where these guys were not the main antagonists, like the big bad evil, but they were a big evil kind of invasive dominant force kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they were, there was something that the heroes felt a twang of like, well, this is unjust and we don't want to let this happen, like to where we've been living and all the rest of it. But it's a big nation versus multiple nation kind of war scenario. So,
Yeah.
We're 5 heroes or whatever. It's not necessarily our place to save the whole world. Or maybe we are, but like from some other kind of, in a different angle. And long and the short of it was, I made it clear to them that via like in character, all in story lore and everything. But we spent quite a long time building up a lot of this warring nation thing, and I made it clear to them that this was a huge invasive army, a massive navy. The flagship was there. A lot of the senior people, if not the leaders of that, well, maybe not the leader, but all the big generals and admirals and things were there. And it was like, and the party just decided that they were going to take this opportunity to sneak aboard the flagship and take out like some of the leaders of this invading army who were this was not like, oh, it's a couple of humans. It was like they were magic users. It was obvious that these were kind of full-blown NPCs, full-blown like essentially they had character sheets, a lot of them, right? And they knew this from like other interactions they'd had with some of their underlings and whatever. So there were no, and they did, and I gave them like every opportunity to back out of what they were doing, even after they'd gotten into the mess. And I was like, well, it's a boat. There's obviously a kerfuffle going on, but you could probably sneak off and no one would notice you, and use your magics and teleport, or whatever, do whatever you want without telling them what to do. But I was just, the options were there, and these are all very experienced GMs and players. And they just persisted, and they went on. And like one by one, people were like losing limbs, and one guy I think got eaten or what happened? I think he got shoved somehow into a bag. Oh, that was it. He chose to try and hide in a bag of holding.
Oh no.
And he ended up getting suffocated to death. And it was like,
Because it's a
Yeah,
void.
it's like, you know what you're doing, right? And it's like, yeah, but it'll be fine because I'll come out in like 2 turns or whatever. And it's like, but no, because the enemy saw you go in. You're not getting out of that bag, and because someone would have to help you out. So one of the moves that the enemy did was just like getting hold and securing this bag, or I think it might have even been one of the enemy's bags or something. It wasn't even in the rest of the party's control, you know. So yeah, and I think of the 5 or whatever that were there, I think 3 of them got away. At least one of them badly injured, and it was just we had such a great fun time. It was an awesome, like, it was because it was great for them to challenge themselves and the dice rolls and be actually playing against like other player character level powerful enemies and stuff. But it was like they were on a ship and then they started a fire, and I was like, guys, how do you think this is gonna go when you're like below decks on a huge war galleon and you start a raging fire? How, what part of this? Because you're not fire elementals or dragons, or what part of this did you think was going to be going really well at this stage? I mean, to be fair, they killed quite a few people, and probably at least that flagship would have to go in for major repairs afterwards, and it would be a loss of face and what. But it was like, overall, it was like, I'm not sure if the trade-off of losing limbs and at least one party member was worth it. But we all had fun. And after that session, we had a big, like, you know, like at least half an hour afterwards, we were all like laughing and just like trying to come down off of the intensity, because it was like you've just gone into the hornet's nest and poked at it with a stick. And you're powerful, but so are other people too. And it's, you know, and they're like, what do you mean there's more like military personnel running down the stairs towards us? It's like, you're on, I said, it was like there were like 500 people or like 200 people or whatever on the ship. It's like, this is a huge flagship galleon of a massive war nation in the midst of active warmongering and an invasion. So this is not, oh, everyone's lolling about on R&R or whatever. This is they did it. So that's kind of the one that always sticks in my mind. I think it was just one of those unique moments, and you couldn't really plan it. I had it planned out in terms of like I had a few maps and I had these characters and everything, but it was like I did not expect them to just be like, yeah, we're just going to sneak aboard that ship and take out the generals.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. No, and that's just like the pure D&D experience. And this is why I normally just I don't really have all that much detail prepared. Like I have key hooks and such, just in case, you know. But yeah, no. I think maybe the most memorable one recently is um is Damien and running up to the chaos gun in the recent episode of, well, I say recent, but one of the latest episodes of Conquest and Cataclysm, and still all the other siege machines firing on him. Like, I was sitting there going like, well, okay then. How do I deal with this? I don't know. Let's figure it out. But I had not expected him to rush forward, and on top of that, I had certainly not expected the siege machines in the city to fire. I because that's the kind of moment where I'm like, okay, if is nobody giving the order to stop things? Well, in that case, it's just gonna happen. And yeah, but there are so many of them. Like it's constant, it's big, it's huge, and I absolutely live for these moments. And Yeah, I think another moment is when I was DMing a little thing where there was a literal demigod about to have his big bad evil speech, and 2 turns later, so 12 seconds later, him and the entirety of all of his armies and everything that was in this location was wiped out by the party because the party, who was supposed to have like this long campaign there, just went, you know what, we attack him. And I was like, I had not expected that. I had not accounted for this. Okay. Well then, what do I do now? And it was this massive, just absolute slaughter, I think in a temple or a church or something. 12 seconds was all it took to completely derail all plans I had for that big bad evil.
Mm-hmm.
One of many things that also can go off script, of course, is when there are clashes between players. And that can be either as characters or even as players. And I think in this case, Lima asks, how do you deal with a clash between players in a D&D game or a role-playing game? And I think for the most part, the better way of dealing with these is to resolve like you do with any conflict. Let's get to the root issue, and then, of course, address it. Can it be solved? Can it not? But then again, it's also kind of fun to, well, I say fun, strange, rather, I should say, to figure out, is this player related to character issues, or is this just between them as people? You know?
Mm.
And that's always the kind of the difficult balance. Where how do you figure out how to go about things? And and like, if this is interpersonal, like it's not even connected to the role playing game at all, that's when I kind of like I would say, like, I would ask them to solve this between them first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
But do it outside of the sessions. But if it can't be resolved, then yeah, no, it's a difficult thing to handle. Like any sort of conflict like that, personal conflict is always hard to resolve. What's your take on things?
Yeah, I think similarly. The question, I guess, is where did the conflict arise from, and whether was it something triggered within the session or whatever, in terms of was it session content somehow that's become inadvertently upsetting, like pushed someone's buttons or something without meaning to, or is it like you said, is it more subtle than that, or just distinct from that, in that there's just some thing that's come up between people that they're just not going to get on anymore? Because if it's something related to the session and the session content, then I think you have an obligation to be part of finding the solution, although it might not be appropriate to do it right there and then. So I suppose the first step is just, is this something we need to address right away? Or is this something that we can kind of bury and just like put a pin in it and come back to it? And then, as you said, it might be something that's just interpersonal, in which case I would definitely do it away. Because the first thing you got to do is either the session is in risk of being derailed or it's already been derailed. And then you got to work out, okay, how do we get everybody back to a calm and logical place? And, you know, is it best to just end the session? Because otherwise everyone's going to chip in with like their well-meant comments, and it maybe inadvertently make it worse somehow, because that happens very, very easily. Or, you know, so, you know, it depends on how well you know the people as well. whether you know that they're the kind of people that will need a break and step away from the situation, or whether they're the kind of people that can kind of shrug their shoulders and get over it and go, oh, well, you're right, it's kind of silly. We don't need to argue about that. But yeah, I mean, thankfully, it hasn't really come up for me too much. The main things will just be if people think that something is overpowered or not quite fitting with the character's behavior, someone's being a bit meta or something like that. But I've mostly done my role playing with people that, at least like in D&D and game, those kind of sessions, I've done it with people with enough experience and kind of common sense kicks in at some point, and you realize that it's not worth arguing about, as it were. I definitely wouldn't allow things that are going to just continue to fester in the background. Like, you have to get to the bottom of it, and the question is just then sort of when and how. Whether it's something that the people need to go off and discuss privately and work out their differences. The GM doesn't have to be solving all of the world's issues, obviously, either.
No, and they're not supposed to be solving all the issues. Like, they're supposed to be building a world within the playing game, not in the real world. Like, they're not going to sit there and be an adjudicator or whatever for this.
No.
So, like, I know from my own, like, if I was involved, like I was part of that conflict, I would be the first to step away. I don't want to cause issues. Like, I don't, like, I'll rather be like, I'll walk away from a thing I enjoy to let others have their thing, because I'm not enjoying the conflict. But if I'm witnessing this conflict, that's when, like, if it starts to be disruptive, like if they're clashing in such a way that it's disruptive for gameplay or for other people being able to talk or have a conversation, that's when I step in and I go, you two out there, talk this out right now, or take a break and figure this out later. Like, it's that separation, like getting the disruptive element away from the table and the conversation there, and kind of getting it to hash out a different place. But then there's always the, like, okay, what if this isn't solved within 5 minutes? What if this isn't solved within, like, an okay amount of time? Like, who do you, like, do you make a choice to remove one but not the other? Do you like, it's that sort of thing too, because there's so many things between us humans where, yeah, it's difficult to kind of imagine properly how many things we connect to each other and how to deal with it. It's it is difficult, but I think, like, as a knee-jerk reaction, I would first and foremost ask for this to be separated from the current conversation and just, have someone be talk it out amongst themselves away from the table, and figure out who, and then let them do that first. If one of them is willing to walk away, sure. If none of them are willing to walk away, then something has to be done. Like, if push comes to shove and you have no other options, like, you might as well end up doing a dice roll for it. That's the crazy part of it. We're almost talking flip a coin to see who's kept on. But again, that's also unfair. But it's also unfair to keep people, like, keep the rest of the people not be able to do their thing just because of a conflict. It's always it's always hard, but I'm honestly not sure, because I've also changed my opinion a bit on conflicts over the last few years, where I've been less afraid of speaking my mind and showing that yes, I am actually angry or annoyed with something, and properly voicing my anger at something, so or what is causing a grievance for me. So I'm not sure if I do things the same way anymore. Like, I honestly don't know. I'm basing this on my previous years up to this point, at least, and knowing how I've solved professional conflicts in both the army and other work lives where I've been a witness to these things, both as a team lead, but also as someone on the same team, as two people kind of rubbing off against each other, you know? It's, I don't know. I don't know. It's, yeah. I'd like to hear some input from people on what is your choice for dealing with players clashing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Gribbles?
Well, I was just going to say, like, the crux of it is that you're just there to have fun, and you're spending your free time willingly with one another, and either you can get back to that, or or you can't, and and then it's what you do. Like you said, then it's just resolving normal human conflict, and we can sometimes get very irate about the most minuscule of things. So just having a little bit of understanding and tolerance for one another. But yeah, that's the main thing, is just working at ascertaining whether or not you're kind of inadvertently with the world, or something that's happened in the game that's caused the problem, or not. And that you might not even get to the bottom of that within 5-minute conversation, as you said. So yeah, best thing is just to de-escalate as quickly as possible, and then make a sensible decision with how everybody's feeling.
Sensible and feelings. Yeah, that's feelings, man. Why our brains, Grumble? Why our brains?
I don't know. Just because.
Just because. That's the best answer I could have given, I guess. Anyway, something else controversial that we need to address. Mari has a question for us. Mari asks, what makes a good blanket for you?
I've not really given blankets that much thought, even though I have benefited from their existence. I would say it's just got to be something that is... I like something that is natural and obviously warmth inducing. And my other criteria would be it shouldn't be too heavy. I don't like feeling constrained under a blanket. I don't like being smothered. I
will agree with the whole natural thing, because I think I prefer a wool blanket or something like that. But I do have some really, really wonderful fleece blankets at home that are amazing because of their fluffiness, so you feel that warmth quickly, right? Because of the whole pockets of air and everything. But I think I prefer, like, if I could have a heavy blanket that almost feels like a constant hug, I'm right there. Big old fluffy blanket that feels like a giant hug constantly. Then I'm super happy. But yeah, no, it's I think the key element here is how quickly does it warm me up, keep me warm. Because if I go for a blanket, it means I'm cold. And if I'm cold, I need that warmth quickly. I don't get cold easily. I'm a big man. I don't get cold. I do get cold. But no, like big and fluffy and like a big hug for me. That's where I go.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. Are you like these, like, if you prefer the thinner blankets that are just, they're just meant to kind of cover you and let you be slightly draped in almost a sheet, or are we like, what are we talking here?
I mean, I like to be. I prefer being a comfortable, slightly cold, but maybe just warming off, and it's a nice sensation for me to warm up. But I don't like being too hot ever.
Yeah, no,
I
that's fair.
hate being too warm. And so yeah, so it's kind of in that general vein of like, is this gonna give me sufficient cover and enhance the warmth and my ability to sustain this warmth? Great. Is it going to be as I put this cover on or this blanket on, and within 5 minutes I'm like too hot? Then it's a no. If that makes sense. Sounds oddly specific, but just I really, really detest being too warm.
It's the duvet thing, isn't it? Like, if you have a duvet where you need to constantly be shifting and sometimes have it open, sometimes not, then it's too warm.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can have a duvet where I could have one foot slipped outside but have the duvet folded over it and my other foot on the inside, so that there's like this air conditioning thing going on, kind of, then that's perfect. Like, without too much hassle, too much. Like, I sense a kind of similar thing there with you and your blankets in that case. Blankets,
Yeah, I mean,
we need the science on it.
Yeah, exactly. Give us the blanket science. But we only want to know your opinions on blankets if you've got a formal education in them.
Well, I wouldn't say blankets are a sensitive topic. Well, they kind of are, though.
Well, no,
aren't they?
I think they're very much a sensitive topic.
Actually, you know what they are? Now that I think about it, they heckin' are. Wow. I did not see that coming. That's a twist and a half. Yeah. We have any blanket biologists there? Speak up. I'm not sure that's the term. You know what, we're gonna go with it.
Well, as you often say, I'm literally not a blanket biologist, so I don't know.
Did I ever tell you I have a friend who is an actual biologist, and I told her about this, and she laughed and laughed and laughed, and she's from Spain, and she has this wonderful roaring laughter when she first gets going, and no, she absolutely loved the fact that I use that and say it, because it's not like I'm not stating the fact, because I literally am not a whale biologist. If that's the thing that I say. So no, she absolutely loved that. But no, yeah, no, I'm not a biologist. There you go. We have a few more community contributions. Mari has a little victory she wanted to share with us. She said she's had a week of vacation off now. Last week when I arrived here. And she's always kind of afraid of ruining her progress on gym stuff or diet or whatever, sleep, you know. And yesterday morning, when she got out of bed, I know she was feeling good, and she was super afraid of having her sleep schedule being broken because of staying up and gaming into the wee hours of the night. Because why not do that when you are a gamer and enjoy gaming? Do it, you know. Just enjoy yourself. That's why that's there for. But she was super afraid of that ruining it. But she was up and feeling rested and feeling good. And she also has a little victory regarding her weightlifting progress. She's been working hard in the gym, and having a week off He says, despite vacation, almost no loss on progress for weightlifting.
Nice.
That's a hecking good victory. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations on that. And we want to hear more little victories, so feel free to share those with us. A little victory for us is on YouTube. Ratty says, another fantastic episode on episode 10 of season 5.
Nice.
We'll gladly take that. Reckless Rat, thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Reddy.
If anyone else wants to give us praise, please do that. We feed of it. We are. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm going to shut up. But there was a clarifying comment from Mari on the last episode, because we talked a bit about Steam and the whole MasterCard thing, and Mari clarifies. MasterCard threatened to not support payment on Steam any longer for mature games because they claimed illegal content was featured. According to Valve, the owner of Steam, that was a huge mischaracterization from the side of MasterCard. The issue has been settled, but at that time, it looked a lot like MasterCard wanted to exert its power as a credit card company and censor what stuff people could and could not buy in regards to mature rated games. We've already talked a bit about censorship, and this is where I feel, sure, as a business, it's their prerogative to support payment wherever they see fit, but that feels like an overreach. Like, on the basis of what products is available to buy, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because it can easily go into bounds of, well, are you going to then allow for purchase of adult toys? Are you going to allow purchase of reading material online that might be triggering to some but not to others? Like, it's that whole thing. Like, but this is where the very important part that we've already talked about, critical thinking and critical choice from the consumer, is the important part here. The consumer needs to be the one to be aware of what they're buying, and the platform, Steam in this case, is the one that needs to be critical of what they feature, I say. Because if they don't want to be featuring those things, then they're the ones that need to do that, not MasterCard coming in and saying, you can't buy that. So we're pulling the support for the entire platform. Like, it needs to be the platform doing their own policing for whatever reason. Some might say that's also censorship and overreach, but it's like with any bar or pub or whatever. Up to them to put the rules for what kind of clientele they want, which is why some places have a 25-year age limit and some have 18. It's their own choice, but in some cases it might be overreach. And I think very clearly here, MasterCard trying to put the pressure on Valve, that's the pressure from the wrong place. Potentially for the right reason, but so it's that's also a big kind of, how do you touch that? How do you approach that? But this is where I'll say, if a company that handles your money suddenly has a say in how you spend that money, that's when that I'll start saying, no, bad company, stop, don't do that, don't. Let's not do that, shall we? So thank you for clarifying that, Mari. We were not aware. And we appreciate your input. Speaking of people, we appreciate the input too. Thank you to Mari. Oh, I gotta figure out a way of doing this in a good way. Can I? What if I do that? Like, is that 3 lines then? Still not 3 lines. Okay. Well, we're going to do this part by part in that case. We're doing it live. This is not fixed in post. I just want to point that out. First and foremost, thank you to Mari, Finn, Tilted, Lima, and Introvert and a latest patron, Mr. Just Mick here. Thank you so much for choosing to be part of those who pledge money to us every single month. $2 or equivalent. Exit to port slash patreon.com/exitport. I nailed that. And you guys will have access to this episode as soon as it is available on Patreon. Like, as soon as I've done editing, I will upload to Patreon and you can listen to it then. You will also be guaranteed to get your questions and comments in as long as I actually find them, be that on Spotify or Patreon or whatever. So thank you so much to all of you for choosing to do that. We are very, 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 very grateful. And it gives us something to smile about. And speaking of something to smile about, why is Grumbles out and about?
Well, Grumbles has been out and about, and I've been sharing my out and about pictures and my little walks here and there when I manage them, when I'm in between injuring myself. Yeah, the reason to smile is not so much that, although that is a positive thing, but also just because it's been a reciprocal experience with people sharing from across the community the various little bits and bobs they've been doing, going out, and we've had walks and people fishing and going to sports events and traveling and all sorts, and it's just nice to see people sharing, whether it's in the chat or just on my Discord there, some of their out and about IRL experiences, and just a little bit of chit chat and banter back and forth about some of those things. And it's just nice to have that positive energy, and it also helps reinforce and give additional motivation. When I look out the window and see, oh, it looks like there could be one drop of rain there. Maybe I shouldn't go out. It could be dangerous. And I need to just buck my ideas up, pull my socks up and get out there, kind of thing. Yeah, thanks to people sharing and keeping it positive. And I also got, during the course of our call here today, I'm going to sneak in a second one because it's a real smile one, which I think the community will appreciate. I got a DM, and I don't think it's an intrusion to just share, but Trammer messaged and said, my son is getting ready for school this morning and his motivation music is Diggy Diggy Hole. We appreciate you, Grumbles, and it always makes us think of our favorite dwarf, sending great vibes your way. So
amazing.
Good vibes to Trammer and family. Thank you very much. That one is a real additional boost. So I thought I'd share that one quickly.
That is fabulous. I like that. Yeah, no, that's good. You know, that made me smile.
There you go.
Mine is kind of a combined thing of something to smile about, but also a little victory. My little victory is the fact that, like, I've talked about it before, but my struggle and my fight with losing weight is an ongoing one. Trying to figure out how, in a good way, where I don't feel like it's a chore, but it's natural and feels okay, right? And I had good progress last time I was here. Some of that progress disappeared over the last few months while I've been gymless at home while working down in the basement trying to paint and put things together in a good way. But what made me smile was the realization of today. Like, when I went on the scales, it said 137.2 as opposed to the 138.5 it did while I was at home. And the realization that makes me smile is the fact that being here together with my favorite person, Mari, makes it so much easier for me to have progress without it seeming like it's like my brain isn't averse to trying to do things to lose this weight. It's not averse to changing eating habits or being willing to do certain things in order to go down in weight, just because I'm simply here together with Mari. And the way She is supportive and good in how she approaches things and talks about things, and just having another person that I can daily kind of share these things with is something that makes me smile. She makes me smile. So, and it was just that realization this morning when I saw that the numbers had been going down, even while being here. So, yeah, that's and just that positive impact on my life being her. Yeah, it made me smile.
Awesome.
And I truly appreciate that. And with that, I will call this episode done. Do we have any last wisdoms to share?
Not really.
No.
I'm all out of wisdom.
You're all out of wisdom. You're intelligence based?
I'm what? Yes, exactly.
That little second of realization of what I just said.
It fits quite well in hindsight. Wish I could say I planned it, but I didn't.
Without further ado, this has been a wonderful podcast. Thank you so much to our listeners. It's going to be a goodbye from me, a goodbye from Grumbles.
Good vibes, everyone.
And we will catch you all with colorful socks in the next exit report. Goodbye.